unfortunately became for me, and if you work at Facebook, this is pretty much going to happen to you. It's your work life. Facebook, at Facebook, is something you have to use. It's not something that's blocked from use like for some employers. You're on Facebook 24/7 working there. So there's a culture of friending everybody you meet in a professional capacity. So I had a lot of people. It was not my friends anymore. It was people who I worked with. So it became a professional platform for me. And after I stopped working there, I decided, a lot of these people no longer are sort of meaningful connections to me. So I'm going to go through my list, find out who I actually worked with in a capacity that was meaningful and people who I want to stay in touch with. And I whittled down a friends list I basically have 1,400 friends, and I whittled it down to way too far. I let go of people who I didn't want to actually let go of for other reasons that I won't get into. But I'm at 89, and I am ready to add people back into my network.
Okay. Interesting. So how does it? I mean, I've never done a video on Facebook, and I don't even think I know how to do it. But so what happens to that? Okay, so I got two questions for you. One, if I put it on Facebook, does it remain somewhere on that app forever, or does it disappear? Okay. Mm-hmm. And the next question is that what's the great benefit of doing videos? I mean, I don't even know how to do it. But let's talk about that, because you have so much knowledge of the world of video. I mean, you picked up so much as a child growing up with your father being a videographer and teaching video, and now you do that. And so, just talk about that, like in a general sense.
Sure. Well, let's answer your question first. The first part that I'll answer is video on Facebook is persistent. Most video on Facebook is persistent. There's a couple of different ways to use video now on Facebook. There's a video post, which is basically where you post a video to your timeline. And it's usually a pre-recorded video that you have maybe edited or maybe you shot on your phone and you just thought was cool. And you upload it to a post. You post it instead of a photo, right? It gives you an option. It says, would you like to post an image or video? And you select it from your hard drive and you post it. That video is persistent. It's not going to go anywhere. The only way you can delete it from Facebook is by, going into that post and actually pressing delete. Or if you really don't want Facebook to have any of your information, you can go into your privacy settings and deactivate your account. And somewhere buried, unfortunately, it's a little hard to find, but there is a way, because of the GDPR, which is some European standards that are in place now for privacy, there is a way to delete your account permanently. And, it's good to know that that's there, because a lot of people say, oh, well, it's on Facebook forever. Well, no, it's actually, Facebook has a legal obligation to delete your account permanently. So do other companies. And that's a good thing for people to know. So then the other aspect, okay, we talked about the first type of video. Second type of video is Facebook Live. That's where you go on your phone and you actually just use your camera on your phone to go live instantaneously. It's a pretty powerful tool, right? You're in the car, you have something important you want to say, you literally just tap a couple of buttons and go live on Facebook. And it sends a notification to your network to tell them that you're live. And once it sends that notification, if you have engaging content, the people watching might share it with other people, and then you get that virality. The other third part is a new thing called Facebook Stories, and that's non-persistent video. You can share a video, but it's not going to stay on the network. So it's kind of the Snapchat thing. Facebook and Instagram got wise to what Snapchat was doing, which is having these ephemeral videos that disappear in an hour or a day once they're viewed. And that became something that Facebook and Instagram both have adopted since. So those are the three types of video. As far as video goes, go ahead.
Talk about, because that's like interesting to me. They set it up with the intention that it was just going to be really very temporary. And so what's the benefit of that? How's that a benefit?
Well, it's a benefit to the company because it promotes people sharing lamer content, right? There's a lower barrier to entry. It doesn't have to be precious. It can be just whatever, right? You just pick up your phone and film whatever, and it can be shaky, and it can be just like you in your shorts, hanging out and going for a walk in the woods, right? Like nothing special, but still something that's important to your, a little slice of life. And that kind of attitude is, I think, what people like. They're drawn to it. It's real. It feels very real, but it also lowers the barrier of entry, and then for the viewer, it makes them feel like, oh my gosh, this is special. It's going to go away. I'm not going to be able to see it after today. So I'm going to try to look at my stories right away because, hey, if I don't, I'll miss it. So it's got both sides of that. It helps people generate it. It encourages generation, but it also encourages people watching. And that's the magic of it.
Suzanne, I finally got our other guest that could meet Matt and talk to him because he's a historian. But Jan Aldrich of Connecticut is on now. I finally got him. So can you allow Matt and Jan to talk about whatever Matt's talking about with the UFO Association? Because Matt, we don't only do Ace Folklife, but last night we did UFO Association with this gentleman, Jan Aldrich. So let me. I guess you both need to introduce yourselves, and we're recording, folks, so it's a live archive. Just going to be, this is culture. So Jan Aldrich, meet Matt. Introduce yourself to Jan, and then I'll let Jan introduce himself. But Matt, since you were talking, tell him what your name is and what you do, please.
Hi, Jan. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name's Matt, and I am a filmmaker, and I guess today I'm a social media expert. I am that, I believe, after so many years doing it. So,
Jan.
Okay, well, I'm Jan. Good to meet you, Matt. Here is I'm a retired military and then retired post office, so about 50 years of government service.
Wow.
Right on.
And
what branch of the military?
Army.
Cool.
So.
Tell me about that. What year?
Well, I started in '67. I got out in '94. So.
Wow.
Oh wow.
So that.
Did you do a lot of traveling?
Yeah.
Some?
7 overseas tours. So I spent almost more than half my time overseas. That's Italy, Germany, Korea.
That's time. Say it again. Germany, Korea.
Oh, your phone is breaking up, Matt.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Huh. Why is that? Oh, yeah, that helps a little bit, yeah. Okay, good.
So what, are we having some technical difficulties?
TJ is is taking and working on putting this together, and sometimes it just takes a little bit of time. But Jan, last night you were a great conversation. You shared so much of your story, and I've never heard any of it. And so, we got started, and we didn't get a chance to finish. So I want you to tell me the story where you think your most important piece of work is, the most memorable piece of work is in your career. And I just want you to choose a highlight and have that conversation, because it's fascinating. It's just fascinating what you did.
Well, that's that was the Minot case is, like I say, it's not mostly mine. It's just, to me, it's the best case. Now, you say I'm a historian. Actually, I'm a plotter.
Okay.
So here's a story about plotting through stuff. There's a very famous letter in UFOs, which is it's a letter signed by General Twining in 1947 in September, which he says UFOs appear to be real, not illusionary. And an earlier Project Blue Book, or a Project Blue Book head who wrote the report on UFOs, Captain Edward Ruppelt, revealed that this letter existed. For the next 10 years, the Air Force denied that it existed. So from 56 to about 66, they denied it existed. And the letter was entitled AMC Opinion on UFOs. AMC is the Air Materiel Command. It's one of the biggest commands in the Air Force. It's in charge of logistics and in charge of some research and all kinds of things. It's a very big organization. It's commanded by a lieutenant general. So everybody says, "Oh, this is a letter that just came out of the blue." That's the way people thought of it for years. Things like that don't happen, though.
Okay.
And so being a plotter, I went to the Air Force Historical Research Organization and signed out a bunch of items, and it's essentially turning one page after another. So the UFO letter was written in 1947, but before, in 1946, here's a letter from, this is the Army Air Force now, because the Air Force hadn't split out until 1947. The Army Air Force, here's the letter from the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Air, Stuart Symington. He later became a senator. And he is writing to a rather famous Air Force general, General LeMay, who was involved in the bombing in Japan. And afterwards, in 1946, he's the head of research and development in the Air Force, Army Air Force. And Secretary Symington asks LeMay, he says, if we look out there at AMC, the Air Materiel Command, can they, what happens if they need an interim project before the next budget? Or can they do that? And LeMay says, yes, they can do that. The commander of Air Materiel Command can start his own project on his own authority, but at the next budget cycle, he has to go ahead and ask for the project to be continued and placed in the budget. Okay, that's just the 1946 letter. UFOs come on the scene.